Noah Beck's mom, a longtime teacher, pulled from her classroom in Arizona after a controversial video with her son resurfaces from his own TikTok. An investigation launched, parents outraged. Now the school district has made a major decision in this case. I'm Anjanette Levy, and this is Crime Fix. Before we get started, I want to tell you about an app that I've been using that I really like. It's called Upside, and it will give you cash back on things that you buy all of the time, stuff like gas, groceries, and even dinner. Here's what you do. You download Upside for free. You claim an offer at one of their 100,000 plus locations. You pay like you usually do with your credit card. Then you verify the purchase, and boom, you get your money back. So say I need to get gas or I want takeout one night. I'll search for the Upside offers first. After I spend, money will appear in my app that I can transfer straight into my bank. Upside's frequent users earn an average of $254 back a year. You can't beat that. So to start getting your cash back, click the link in the description, scan that QR code that you see on your screen, and use our promo code CrimeFix to get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. It's been about a week since Noah Beck's mom, Amy Beck, was placed on paid administrative leave from her job teaching second graders in Peoria, Arizona. This raised a lot of questions because, number one, Amy Beck is a veteran teacher who's been around children for years, and her daughter, Haley Beck, who was a teacher with the Peoria Unified School District, is under investigation for sex crimes involving a former student. The Maricopa County Attorney's Office is reviewing the case against Haley Beck to see whether a charge will be filed. More on that shortly. But number two, Amy Beck was placed on leave shortly after an old video from her son's TikTok account surfaced. That video was originally posted back in 2020 and appeared to show Amy Beck, a school teacher, acting like she was performing a sex act on her social media influencer son, Noah Beck. Now, Noah Beck has millions and millions of followers on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, you name it. The video was posted during COVID. Maybe he was looking for content, but still, it's completely inappropriate and really, really gross. Amy is his mom, and Noah, of course, is her son. The ick factor is high for sure. It appears that some of the parents of Amy Beck's students didn't find this video funny either. Parents of Amy Beck's students received a letter from the principal saying an investigation was being launched and a sub would take over her duties. In a letter to the parents, the principal of Coyote Hills Elementary wrote, "Dear Mrs. Beck's families, this letter is to inform you that out of an abundance of caution, your child's teacher, Mrs. Beck, is currently on paid administrative leave. The district has started an investigation and we will provide you with an update as soon as possible. In the meantime, we will have a substitute teacher who will provide the same high-quality education you have come to know and expect from Coyote Hills Elementary School. While I cannot share additional details on a personnel matter, please know this matter does not impact the safety of our students. We appreciate you, as parents, working with us to make this transition as comfortable as possible for your child." Now, at the time, the letter didn't say why Amy Beck, a veteran teacher with the Peoria Unified School District, was being placed on leave, but the timing lined up with the video resurfacing. Now we know the investigation was all about the video. The district sent an email to me saying concerns about videos resurfacing have been addressed and appropriate measures have been taken. The district shared another letter that went home to the parents. It reads, "Dear Coyote Hills second grade families, the purpose of this communication is to inform you that Mrs. Beck will be returning to the classroom on Monday, May 4th. Thank you for your patience and understanding during the past several days as a substitute assisted in ensuring our students received quality education and support. While we cannot discuss the specifics of her leave, please know that the district's investigation concluded that Mrs. Beck's actions outside of the workplace did not interfere with her ability to fulfill her teaching responsibilities. Additionally, appropriate follow-up measures have been taken in accordance with governing board policy. We recognize and greatly value the trust you place in our staff and school. Providing a safe, supportive, and respectful learning environment for all students remains our highest priority. We expect all staff members to uphold the highest standards of professionalism and character, both within and beyond the classroom, with an understanding of the impact their actions may have on the school community. I recognize there has been an increase in media coverage surrounding the district's investigation. If you have any questions or concerns, I urge you to reach out to our administrative team. Thank you for your continued support. Sincerely, Julie Abbott, Coyote Hills principal. So, as of Monday, May 4th, Amy Beck is back in her second grade classroom at Coyote Hills Elementary School. She's been a teacher there since 2019. And I want to reiterate that Amy Beck was never accused of a crime and was never under criminal investigation. This was all about the old TikTok video. But Amy Beck's daughter, Haley Beck, has been under criminal investigation for months now. Police say Haley Beck paid a now former student more than $600, and in exchange, that student paid her compliments about her clothes and spent time with her. In a police report, a detective described it as a sugar mama, sugar baby relationship, but detectives suspected sex was involved. That student would not cooperate with the investigation and moved to California, according to what the detectives wrote in the report. Haley Beck denied she had sex with the student, despite rumors that a video was circulating showing her performing oral sex on that teen. Now, as I mentioned, the Maricopa County Attorney's Office is considering whether to file a pandering charge against Haley Beck. Pandering is prostitution. All of this has to be a lot for Noah Beck, who's shooting a reboot of Baywatch set to premiere in the fall. But the question remains, how will Amy Beck really be able to return to the classroom? Are parents okay with this? So, to discuss this, I want to bring in Kurt Altman. He is a criminal defense attorney, but also practices some civil law out there in Arizona. Kurt, what do you make of the school district out there in Peoria making pretty quick work of this investigation into Amy Beck? These old videos surfaced of her. It's one video, I should say, simulating a sex act on her son. I'm still, as a mom, kind of like, oh my God, what are you doing? What are you doing, woman? You're a teacher. You're a mom. Don't do this. But they made quick work of this, and they're saying, okay, we took steps. Now she's back to teaching your second grade children. End of story.
I think there's all kinds of things to kind of unpack on this, really, but I think they
Mhm.
made quick work, number one, because as you know, a news cycle can happen fast, and they want to get to the end. I'm sure that somebody within that organization says, "We want to get this to the end, put it out there, say we're done, and hopefully this goes away and gets off the front page as soon as possible." I think that's probably part of it. I think another part of it is they looked at it. This was something that was outside the classroom. They probably, sorry you have to say this, they probably don't have a specific policy or conduct policy that address that specifically.
Mhm.
And they didn't want to litigate. I think they probably would have cost them a ton of money and a much more publicity and time, and they just want this gone. And it's easy to say, didn't happen in the classroom, doesn't affect our teaching, let's move on.
And maybe they don't. Maybe they don't have some social media policy for their teachers. Maybe she's somebody with a really clean record there at the school district. She's a mom herself of children. She teaches second graders, but there is something about judgment here. And you are teaching second graders, little kids, and it kind of makes you think, like, my God, like when you're teaching second graders, you're probably in the school doing whatever second graders do, like phonics, handwriting, things of that nature. So you're probably not going to be simulating sex acts and talking about things that are super inappropriate with second graders. But it does kind of call into question like your judgment. And so if you're a teacher, or if you're a parent rather of a child who was probably really grossed out when they saw this and concerned that maybe I mean, think about it. If you're willing to simulate this, what else are you willing to do and have it out there on social media? It kind of makes you wonder too, especially with what's going on with her daughter, Haley.
Mm.
who's under investigation for sex crimes as a teacher involving a student. Kind of makes you wonder, like, who in the world is in the classroom teaching my child?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, if I'm a parent in that class, I'm upset about it. I don't really know what to do. You know, as a criminal defense attorney, I'll say, listen, people make mistakes. They get caught up in stuff. They do stupid
Mhm.
stuff. And my understanding of this, not a big influencer follower, was that it was
You're
during a
not, Kurt.
yeah,
Come
shocker,
on.
right?
You're not on TikTok
Uh,
watching Noah Beck?
I am not.
I'm
I had
shocked.
to look
Yeah.
up Noah Beck. Uh, you know, people get
We'll
caught
cut you
up in the
some
moment.
slack.
All right, thanks.
Mhm.
And do silly stuff, and
Mhm.
that is not, you know, one act does not represent or reflect their entire character. With that, you know, that's a defense lawyer. With that said, yeah, if I'm a parent, I'm definitely upset about this, and I'm like, what is going on? I can bet you that the Peoria school district's going to have a policy on social media use now,
Mhm.
and they probably have her on probation. She's probably going to be on a tight leash, but I'm sure their legal counsel told them, maybe reprehensible as they think this is from a legal standpoint, they probably can't really do anything right now. Do the investigation, get her back in the classroom, change some things, and keep her on a tight leash. That's not going to satisfy parents. Just not.
I think the parents, this is the thing. I think the parents are gonna be still outraged, but at the same time, and I worked as a sub for a year, so I know a little bit about school, and I have a child who goes to school. A lot of times these teachers are contracted year to year. That's how it works. Also, there are teachers' unions who represent teachers, and sometimes they can be pretty strong. I don't know how strong they are out there in Arizona. But one thing that I thought was super interesting about this letter they sent home to the parents, the school, they said that basically they determined that this happened outside the workplace. It did not interfere with her ability to fulfill her teaching responsibilities and duties. Additionally, appropriate follow up measures have been taken in accordance with governing board policy. I reached back out and I said, "Can you please expound upon that? Tell me a little bit more about what that means." And they said, "This is a personnel matter. We can't tell you that." So, is that, double secret probation, like you mentioned? Is she on probation of some sort? And is her maybe next contract under review? Something like that.
Yeah, certainly, you know, especially in Arizona, as far as contracts, if her contract is up, they cannot renew for any reason. This is a at-will state. Um, so that is not going to be an issue. And maybe their lawyers, I don't know, because I wasn't there, said, wait till her contract's up, end of the year, don't renew. Everything goes away. There's nothing she can do then. Maybe she's on probation. Maybe they looked at, you know, it's my understanding this took place back in 2020. So
2020. It was
may,
during COVID. She
a
was
lot of
still a
silly
teacher
stuff.
though with the district.
Right, a lot of silly stuff back then, I guess. Maybe they looked at her conduct in the classroom the best they could from 2020 till now and see that there's been no effect, that she's been fine, and based on the totality of the circumstances, just decided that, you know, it's best to put her back in the classroom, not litigate this subject, keep an eye on her, maybe not renew. There's a lot of options for them. I think letting her go at this point based on that conduct probably would have embroiled them in years long litigation that they just didn't want to do.
And that's very possible. And also, we're heading toward the end of the school year. It's May 4th. She's back in the classroom today on May 4th. She was off for like a week or so, maybe a little more than that, as they investigated. So she may not be in the classroom that much longer for the rest of the school year. And then she's going to be like, you know, probably a little bit on edge, thinking, I better be really extra good at my job for the next month or so until the school year is over, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think it's going to be difficult for her, even going back into the classroom. Maybe not teaching the kids, because maybe she won't miss a beat there. But
Mhm.
I presume we still have parent teacher conferences. in this day and age that she still has contact with parents. And I just think that's going to be pretty awkward. So maybe, I mean, I'm speculating, 100% speculation, but maybe they reach some sort of an agreement where she's going to finish the year and maybe she's going to move on her own. Um, Maybe not. I don't know. There's a lot of options out there, but I got to believe even after this investigation, even after the school said, hey, this was outside the classroom, it doesn't affect her classroom conduct, it's going to be a really awkward situation for her teaching. Uh, Not teaching, but meeting and talking with the parents of her students moving forward, the ones who know.
Yeah, the ones who know, and it's all over the place. And if you're like, "Oh, my child is going into Mrs. Beck's classroom. I'm gonna Google her and see what she's like." And this
Yeah,
is what comes up. The first grade student, and you get the letter saying, "Oh, your child is going to be in Amy Beck's class for the 2026-2027 school year." And this is what pops up when you put Amy Beck into Google. I think you're probably gonna be like, "What? Oh my god,
yeah,
what's going on?" Nobody's saying, like, she's gonna be doing this in the classroom, but
sure.
it kinda does raise some questions about judgment. And as I mentioned, Kurt, you've got the whole issue of her daughter, Haley. Nobody is saying that, Amy Beck had anything to do with that, but her daughter, Haley, is under criminal investigation. The Maricopa County Attorney's Office is considering whether to file this pandering charge, this prostitution charge against her for paying a student, giving the student money to give her compliments. The cops suspected she was having a sexual relationship with this 18-year-old student. So,
Right.
I mean, there's a lot there. And I think a lot of people are probably thinking, like, what's going on with this family?
I think that's right. And I think if you're a parent and let's say you're talking to your neighbor and they're like, my child's going into Mrs. Beck's class. They're like, is that Mrs. Beck? Even if you don't know, I think in
Mhm.
the end, you're with all the teachers out there, all the second grade teachers are like, why is my child got to go to this class? Can't we go somewhere else? Can't there be another teacher? So I think it's probably a path to an inevitable end where she's no longer teaching. I just don't know when that's going to happen.
It's actually really sad and unfortunate. And I think people are very hyper sensitive to this, as they should be when children are involved, because we see so many teachers now, female teachers, who end up being arrested. And obviously this is not an indictment of female teachers, but we've covered them about, there are so many female teachers who get charged with sex crimes. And it's very, very terrifying. If you're a parent, it's kind of like you trust that you're sending your children to school and that they are being taught and cared for by people who have their best interests at heart. And then you see stuff like this, and it really makes you wonder where you're sending your kids every day.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, people are going to think that all the time. Uh, Everybody deserves a second chance, right? They do silly stuff. This was not a crime that she committed. She did not commit, uh, you know, a sex act with a student or anything like that. But
Mhm.
with that said, again, as a parent, you go, what? What did she? This is our second grade. It's second grade, right? This is our second grade
Second
teacher.
grade.
Like, you can't find a better teacher than that? How can the Peoria school district allow this to happen? Why does my student have to go here? I mean, all that's understandable. So this is a really tough situation for everyone, which takes me back to maybe without litigation, maybe without somebody getting fired, without a big headline, maybe she just fades away on her own. And maybe, like you said, when that contract's up, or when it just becomes too difficult for her to do her job like she wants to and everybody else would want to.
Yeah. And just her colleagues too. If the colleagues there at the school are kind of like, wow, I mean, people you've worked with for years who are your work friends are kind of like, "Yikes, Amy, like, what the heck?" I mean,
Yeah.
I think people's reaction to this is gross
Yeah. In fact,
and creepy.
I was speaking to a colleague who's in another office right before we came on, and it was just like, well, that's just weird. The reaction is like, that's just weird. Like, but you know, again, people do things that they regret. It doesn't mean that's their entire personality. It doesn't reflect their
Sure.
character, but this is a tough one.
It seems tough to me. So we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens at the end of the school year and over the summer. Kurt Altman, thank you so much.
Thank you, Anjanette.
And we'll keep an eye on all of this to let you know what happens. That's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.